Hello and welcome to the video today. Today I'm going to be speaking to you about shadow work. So what is shadow work? Carl Jung first brought our awareness to shadow work and what it represents in our psyche. Our shadow is the parts of ourselves located in our subconscious that we might not so easily see on a surface level, but are brought to our attention in reflection and situations with others. So how do we recognize our shadow? Everyone's shadow will be mirrored in our connections. When you find a trigger, when something that someone says or does sparks an emotional response, that is a good time to take note of that situation and come back to it later. They've likely caught your attention and brought to the forefront some aspect of your shadow or subconscious wounding. How do we heal? Well, our shadow isn't a part of us that we can get rid of. Shadow belongs to us, and our shadow is a core part of our identity, created usually from trauma or some childhood wounding. What we can do is we can learn to integrate and love this part of ourself into healing. So how do we do this? My number one recommendation is to spend time in nature while addressing these core wounds. Start by making a list. For 1 week, take note of situations with other people that triggered you and write those down. Once you're in nature, begin to see with a curious mind and observe without judgment these moments within. Find yourself in a somewhat meditative state. The more calm, the more relaxed, the better this will work. We are going to just curiously focus on one of those triggers and look internally to where and what might have sparked this reaction. The more we can just observe and detach, objectively seeing the core of this wound, the more we can heal, work on, or fix these parts of us by just seeing and observing them. In fact, the more space we can create, the more room there is to have awareness and to heal that space in between. Once you find yourself in that meditative state, begin to see internally this shadowy bubble of aspects or maybe parts we don't quite admire, or qualities we strive to make a little healthier for the core of our identity. For example, if you have any addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, try to go to the core of that wound. Where did it originate? Just observe and see how it looks in your daily life. The more we're able to observe, the more distance we're able to create to heal and hold emotional support for this part of us. My recommendation is to spend a week practicing this. Spending your time somewhere secluded, somewhere safe, preferably outside, where you can just hold space for yourself to recognize and observe these wounds in a safely, non-judgmental, and curious state. Once you're able to practice that, then continue the video. Step number 2 is loving our shadow. Rather than rejecting or neglecting these parts of ourselves, love is the antidote to heal any of our core wounds. In fact, most of the time, these wounds were there to protect us. And we are just going in and giving our inner selves the love we needed that no one could give us at the time. So maybe it would be helpful to find where these habits began. Then find out why. Likely a protection method. Once you're able to identify and hold a safe, non-judgmental, curious and loving, nurturing space, send love to your inner self. There is no point in beating ourselves up about it. It was what needed to be done. In fact, the love you send yourself where no one else could is the most precious gift of all to your inner child. Then I encourage you to go beyond. What are the brothering or sistering aspects? What do you do in this version of you? Observe. Go within and start hugging your inner child and feel that shrinking habit or whatever pieces in you just need love. Practice that. Once you feel like this practice has been solidified, then come back for the next part. When you start releasing those parts, you might feel lighter all of a sudden. You might feel internal changes. In fact, you really are rewiring your internal vagal nervous system as you do this. This work is somatic healing. It is emotionally rewiring inside your body. Then we're going to incorporate and integrate the shadow because it's not going to leave. It is part of us. And the best way to heal it is to love and integrate it. Also, this might be a really great time to look into parts work. Parts work helps us to introduce different parts of ourselves to each other and have them integrate to work better together. Finally, the last component I'm here to recommend is the spiritual component. I highly, highly, highly recommend a spiritual practice of setting intention or praying for protection at this time. When you are opening yourself up and creating all this new internal space, you want to make sure that it will be filled with the most benevolent, unconditionally loving, and pure light source, loving space to keep away any negative energies. Just asking for assistance or guidance or help for protection as we heal. That is the final recommendation I have for this shadow work, exercise, and video. I hope it resonated for some, and I hope it helps someone, or many people along their journey. In love and light, stay blessed.